It's been 2 weeks since Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed Sri Lanka's new president. On Wednesday, he told Parliament a debt restructuring program was in the works so a bailout can be obtained from the International Monetary Fund. Sri Lanka's worst economic crisis since 1948 prompted a people power revolution that forced a change in government. Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled the country in July, leaving Wickremesinghe in charge. But people remain angry and determined to press for change. DW's Amrita Chima reports from Colombo from a protest site that the government cleared in a sudden operation last month.
This is what remains of the Gotago Gama protest camp in Colombo. Many who took part in the protests, which led to the ouster of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, are gone. But a few remain, and they are defiant.
Right now, Ranil Wickremesinghe is sitting on a time bomb and the wrong side of it. It's upon him to make the changes. We can wait it out.
These are scenes from the day Ranil Wickremesinghe was elected by Parliament. Protesters at the presidential secretariat, which they'd partially occupied, were angry. They see him here as being too close to the Rajapaksa family. The mood turned ugly the night Wickremesinghe took the oath of office. In the dead of night, without warning, the military moved in to remove protesters from in and around the presidential secretariat. The protesters were taken by surprise. They had already said they were vacating the government premises the next day. Several people we talked to at this camp said they were beaten and assaulted on the night of the crackdown. They said it was not the military who was behind these attacks, but hired mercenaries.
When I was attacked, I was chased down up to this barricade. Near the barricade, there were videos also. Near the barricade, one of the guys pushed me. Then I said, I know you are not army. You are one of the thug gangs. Then he said, yes, and he scolded me in filth, and he kept his foot on my neck.
Honestly, I don't believe they are current military personnel because we didn't see the decency or the discipline of military among them. We strictly believe they were mercenaries.
If this were true, Budhi said, it would be a chilling reminder of the previous regime, which frequently used shadowy organizations to suppress dissent. For now, the huge throng of crowds which forced the former president to flee have gone from the streets. But those who remain still see a long road ahead.
We all have a responsibility now to take this forward, and we have shown that we have the power to do so.
They intend to hold the government accountable till there's an end to the months of food and fuel shortages, and an end to the suffering of the people of Sri Lanka.
And joining me now for more from Colombo is Paikasoti Savanamuttu. He's Executive Director of the think tank, the Centre for Policy Alternatives. Mr. Savanamuttu, President Wickremesinghe says that hardships have eased with steps being taken to avoid food shortages, reduce power cuts and provide essential medicines. Is he right?
Well, he may be correct in terms of a temporary reprieve as far as the hardships are concerned. But still, hardships continue. Everything is relative. And we are probably facing a future in which the hardships would get worse. At the present moment, the fuel queues are decreasing. But at the same time, we don't have the money, I don't think, to be able to get more supplies start the middle of August. So, and once an IMF agreement comes in, there will be conditionalities that we will have to implement. And that would probably involve a fair amount of hardships as well.
The president has talked. I'm sorry to interrupt. The president has talked about a debt restructuring plan with the idea that this can then be presented to the IMF for this bailout. Do you think this will give Sri Lanka the relief it needs, at least in the near term?
Well, we don't have much of an option insofar as we have to get. It's necessary but not sufficient to get out of this mess that we're in to get a deal with the IMF. And so we have to make some hard choices. The position with regard to the IMF is to move towards a staff agreement. That is an agreement with regard to the overall economic framework in which the structural adjustment agreement will be negotiated. So all parties will have to pull themselves together and recognize that we have no other option.
I'd like to talk a bit about how Sri Lanka is being run under Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now, Human Rights Watch has accused his government of using the state of emergency to intimidate, harass and arrest demonstrators. Is Mr. Wickremesinghe resorting to the same kind of high-handedness that the previous regime was accused of?
Yes, there is that element where he has said that, look, as long as the Aragalaya behaved within the law, they are fine. But those who have broken the law by taking over public buildings and all of that they are going to be prosecuted. But the manner in which it has been done is what is really unfortunate. You know, overnight they came in and the army dispersed the people at Golface. Then there have been people who have been sort of taken off buses. Indeed, one person was taken off a plane. You know, the manner in which it was done seems to be rather brutal and rather authoritarian. And that's what needs to be addressed. The Aragalaya, he himself said that the Aragalaya was peaceful and that the Aragalaya should be protected. But since he has become president, the crackdown seems to be suggesting otherwise.
So people have been wanting change and demanding change. Given what is happening and the way you just described it, it appears this change, at least politically, is not happening.
Well, there is opinion that is divided insofar as there are people who accept the government's narrative that the law should not be broken and that public and state buildings should be protected. And so they are somewhat supportive of the government. But there are those, the hard and fast, real strong supporters of the Aragalaya, who feel that this cannot be tolerated and that the resistance should continue.
How much support does Ranil Wickremesinghe have amongst the people? Do people trust him?
Well, I mean, that's difficult to say, but I think he is gaining some support amongst the more conservative elements of the population, maybe the urban middle class who want to see law and order and stability restored. He's gaining some support amongst them. That has to be conceded.
We'll have to leave it there for the time being, but thank you so much for joining us from Colombo. Paikasori Sarvanamuttu from the Centre for Policy Alternatives. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.